Like we've gone over the history, we've gone over the legality of it. Now here's the political will. So there's two sides of this. There's does America even want us? Because, well, for one, the 51st state as like the entirety of Canada, that's an absurd notion. You know, even as an American citizen myself, I wouldn't want another California voting in the demographics of the United States. That would be terrible. Just long term, that wouldn't be good. But we're talking about Alberta here. So Alberta might be a different story if it was
Texas.
It would be another Texas. Yeah. But that being said, Alberta has had an NDP government where I don't know if Texas has had an all around Democrat government before. I don't know if that's ever happened. But so leave that aside. We know the situation if Carney gets in. This is going to be all the will to get to usher Alberta out of Confederation and on its independent thing, or as a deal with the United States. But if Pierre Poilievre is to win, then this becomes a contentious thing. Now, Pierre Poilievre has not offered any sort of reprieve or any offers of reprieve from transfer payments. This is still very much a thing if we have a Pierre Poilievre government. Yes, he's talking about allowing for more expansion of energy and natural resources, and that's always a positive. But it comes at the whims of the current and contemporary federal government who's in government. That could be taken away. And just that prospect alone, just the prospect that Pierre Poilievre could get in, he could allow for all this stuff. 4 years later, another crazy leftoid or a crazy liberal could come into power and take it all away again, creates the environment of regime uncertainty for investors. Investors from outside of Canada, outside of Alberta, might look at it and go, yeah, it looks enticing, but what about 4 years down the road when we've built the infrastructure? Can we actually profit from it? Is that something that's going to be a thing? So where does this leave Alberta with a Pierre Poilievre government as we see it today, because we're still in the middle of the election. He hasn't given all of his treats and trinkets that he says he's going to bring forward, but it is a contentious thing, as I said, because there are future elections that you may have to look at. What does that look like?
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, if Carney gets in and carries out his extremist views,
which he will,
that makes Trudeau's actions look, and Gabot, not so extreme. Mm-hmm. Like Carney's way out there, and it's all over social media now. People have summarized what's in his book and quoted him and everything else. This guy thinks he is here to save the planet Earth, and
he's the next best thing from Lenin. I mean, I think it was something along those lines.
Yeah, but he's going to get it right this time. He's going to get it right this time. So we know what's likely to happen if that happens. I just think it'll be so obvious, and the economic harm will be so dramatic that Albertans will say we're done. But if Poilievre gets in, hopefully he'll follow through in lifting all of these punitive laws that are harming not just Alberta, but all of the resource development of all of the provinces. But he's probably not going to address some of the core structural problems. And it may be the case that what he does is enough to appease Albertans and cause them to decide to hang out in this abusive relationship still. We've all seen it. We'll all have experienced some friends of ours that, they're in a tough marriage, and you're hearing like, oh, it looks like they're getting divorced. And like, oh, no, so-and-so's quit drinking and he's got a job now, and they're back together and they're trying to make it work. And then all of a sudden, a year or two later, oh no, that's kind of this, we're in this bad marriage. So, my view would be that if Poilievre gets in, he may be able to take sufficient immediate steps to counter the growing tide of separatism in Alberta.
Right. So that could lead to Alberta not separating because of appeasement on those issues. Now, this is where this comes in. Now, Donald Trump is looking to, expand U.S. territory, whether it's Greenland, whether it's parts of Canada, whether it's all of Canada. We don't know what his plan is. We hear what he says. A lot of it's banter. A lot of it's, you know, being a blowhard, or, you know, trying to corner Canada, so they have to come from a position of being cornered in negotiations. And I understand that. I totally understand that. It's the art of the deal. It's what he does. And he's a New York type businessman. He's not going to give Canada any advantage in this situation, and he's gonna come in hard. Now, that being said, what it looks like is, you know, Alberta might be on the ticket for him. He might be able to convince Alberta, even with a Pierre Poilievre government, by coming in and saying, well, look at the transfer payments. You wouldn't have to deal with that. You could immediately start using the US dollar. This would save your companies a ton of money with just dealing with the customers that you already have. You're not changing customers. You're not restructuring your economy at all. And I mean, the pipelines are all there. Everything exists. What's to stop Donald Trump from undermining a Pierre Poilievre negotiation with Alberta and usurping Alberta to become a territory or a 51st state in that right?
Nothing.
Well, that's a short answer.
And seriously, nothing. Well, there's nothing to stop him. He's not seeking re-election. If he decides that it's in his interest, you know, I mean, I'm talking about nothing, as long as he keeps his actions legal. There's bilateral relations going on constantly between governments, both neighboring ones and non-neighboring nations. That's how we interact as humans in our political structures. But, you know, what I don't, the reality is that the oil reserves in the United States are declining. So their reservoirs are going down. They don't recharge every 5 years. So even though he's doing drill, baby, drill, there's only so much drilling that can be done, because a lot of drilling has been done and their reserves are getting depleted. So they're going to have to find alternative reserves. And here you can look right on the Montana border is the third largest reserve of oil in the world and natural gas, huge reserves. And we can instantly become his strategic oil reserve. And rather than keeping it in tanks that can be blown up, we keep ours 15,000, 20,000 meters underground that you can't bomb. We just put a straw into it and pull it out and put it in the pipeline and send it down. So there's tremendous benefits that Alberta has to offer the United States. It would be one heck of an acquisition for Trump, a big notch on his belt, and we know that's important to him. He's a real estate developer. Real estate developers always are in one mode. They make their money by selling land, but they can't sell land unless they acquire land. So they're always focused on acquiring land. And the more he understands what Alberta has to offer in terms of the culture of our people, we're hardworking entrepreneurs. We know the value of our work. We're a stable society. We have incredible modern infrastructure. We have a lot to offer. We have, and not just oil and gas, critical energy. So as we could be, there is a very predictable and obvious path or scenario that could unfold where Carney's elected. He doesn't back off on the bad liberal policies of Trudeau, etc., and Guilbeault. He accelerates even crazier policies, and Trump starts to realize more and more how vulnerable Canada has become under the Liberals through their extremist policies, and starts to make offers to Alberta that are so enticing that enough Albertans say, yeah, I think this is a great opportunity. We'll see.